When it comes to linearity of calorie intake, we don't necessarily need to be quite so rigorous in our analysis of linearity of calorie intake as we did with fat loss. Again, if adherence to a linearly increased calorie intake is an issue, then we can adopt some form of high calorie, low calorie days. Especially that might be useful if we are looking to gain a very small amount of weight per month as well. If we're looking to only gain a really small amount, then it might be worth inducing that calorie surplus using only kind of 2 to 3 days a week of overfeeding and having the other days at kind of maintenance level. That may be a viable option if the person is willing and able to do that. But again, if habit formation is a priority and if someone has a stressful lifestyle to the extent that they need kind of grab and go food, then having the extra distraction of, do I need to be eating 300 grams of carbs today or 400 grams of carbs today, that's probably not going to be conducive to a happy, adherent client. So when it comes to why your client isn't gaining weight, again, we have some commonly blamed but falsely accused things. So we have not eating for the right body type. Now this goes back to the somatotyping theory, which on a personal level I find quite amusing anyway. The idea that we can group all humans ever into 3 distinct body types. That, again, given the variety in humans and just how every single person is unique, the idea that we can group people into just 3 distinct categories has always confused me a little bit. There is pretty much no evidence to support many of the claims made by those who believe that somatotyping is a real and valid way of going about prescribing nutrition. Alan Aragon, I think, put it best in one of his conferences when he said that there are 2 generally distinct body types that he sees, that are untrained individuals and then trained individuals. And I think we're getting to the point where we can see that untrained individuals and trained individuals do tend to need subtly different training and nutrition recommendations. But again, I would urge every single person to just take their client as an absolutely unique case study. Each and every single person is unique. They're an N=1 experiment. Use the evidence to guide your starting point, but then use their personal responses to guide all of the changes from then. Other things that are commonly blamed, things like a fast metabolism. They're a hard gainer, for example. You see countless articles everywhere that are all about training or muscle growth for the hard gainer. Again, there's little evidence to support this. What tends to normally be the case with why people aren't gaining muscle or gaining weight, they have an inconsistent daily calorie intake, which means that they're not in a calorie surplus. They may just have a low appetite generally. They may lead a high stress lifestyle. That means that they forget to eat. That's one of the typical responses to a higher stress lifestyle. Other people, they eat the world when they're stressed, and some people, they kind of go all pigeon appetite. They don't necessarily have a set day in the life. Maybe they have a very inconsistent schedule. That means that some days they're super busy and they forget to eat, and other days they can eat a normal amount. Maybe they're over exercising, or they are not training with a focus on all of the things that we know build muscle. They're not training with a focus on progressive overload and mechanical tension. They think that endless sets to just chase the pump is the way to go about building muscle, when we know from not only a ton of data but a ton of experience as well that generally speaking, focusing on some level of progressive overload and the strategies that Coach Evan is going to go over in later units, those things are generally a better way to go about looking to build muscle. Remember that training is the main stimulus to build muscle. Nutrition is only ever permissive. But they could just simply be expending way too much energy to gain any significant amount of weight in a realistic manner, unless you're feeding them 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day. That's something that you're going to have to discuss with individual clients. Maybe they, similar to the fat loss scenario, they simply plateaued because they're now eating at maintenance. They are no longer in a calorie surplus. That also happens. And lastly, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. As we've said many, many times now, a lot of people, they respond to overfeeding with an increase in activity. So that may be cancelling out the calorie surplus purely because they're expending more energy like that.